if you befriend a scorpion because you want to be called a good fellow, that you should not complain when the scorpion stings you.
Yeah.
It's like helping the snake out of a ditch. It doesn't stop the snake from biting you as soon as it gets its strength back. That was typically what happened with Tracy's case, and it was most unfortunate. Now, I don't know Tracy from Adam. So, as we do in our group now, even if you're the worst person in this world, once your rights is being violated, we step in and try to see how we can protect your rights and enforce your rights.
Sure.
So it so happened that we got wind that she was arrested, she was handed over a purely civil transaction, which we thought it was really. So we saw again and we felt no, she should not be made to suffer for a purely civil transaction.
Sure.
So she called, the husband called me, she also called, we also reached out to her. And then we insisted that, well, if there was a civil transaction, why use the police to gag and harass her, which we thought it was then? Yeah. So we went to her bed. What I noticed on that day, when we got to that place, and then she was talking, the police interrogators were asking her, okay, fine, you said you had a contract with her. Who supplied the goods? You said she supplied. She said one man was one that supplied or printed for her first. They even start with printed for her. And that's okay, call the man. Let's hear the man. And she called her a number. And the man said, yes, hello, am I talking to her? She said, it's me now. 12 years ago, you helped me to print some documents. Man said, I don't know you. What's your name? She mentioned that. Man said, I don't know you. He said, yeah, you helped me to print some documents down, the document you helped me deliver. Man said, I cannot remember. Sorry, I don't know you. As soon as I heard that, I was like, not be one chance president. So I don't even ask for evidence before I enter this matter. But we're still insistent that on no account she should go to prison for asking that her rights be enforced or that a civil matter be resolved or that her money be paid. Yeah. So we continued, and then she was charged to court. Another case involving Babasho, when we had, and then we rushed from the court, we went to the place. Of course, I stood in, and then I spoke with the judge, and I applied for a bail orally. I was able to convince the judge, and she was granted bail. But while we were there perfecting our bail conditions, we saw some sinister move to drag her to prison at all costs. And we said, no, this will not work. And I asked some of our comrades, especially for her, protest it. Use my money. We never ask her for money. We do these things because it is part of us to help.
Yeah.
We use our money. We did things for her. Use my address as the address of church. So many things for her, just so she doesn't go to prison. However, by taking her to perfect the bail and for us to go, they came and said there's a remand order to detain and send her to prison. I said, no, now. This is a weekend. If she goes to prison now, she has to spend the weekend in prison. No, we will not have that. And there was a long standoff, people came and all of that. We were able to, on that day, luckily for us, the new IG also said he won't be part of, because we called the new IG, and the new IG said he won't be part of people abusing power and all of that. And so,
sure.
She didn't go to prison on that day. The next day, they wanted to force her to the prison, despite the fact that we already perfected the bail condition, and a release order has been signed by the judge. And we said that will still not work. And then we insisted, on that day, fortunately, when we had this long standoff, I called VDM. VDM, I found out this matter. VDM, come. So VDM came. I called Senator Reti too. Senator Reti is the chairperson, House Committee on Women Affairs. I called her. She came. Called a lot of our comrades, and they came. And then we were able to talk things over. And then she eventually didn't go to prison. I thought, okay, fine. So now she came and she was saying, Pastor Marshal, thank you. I said, no, don't worry. What we do is just normal. Then I would have paid you legal fees, but I said, don't worry about legal fees. Just calm down, don't worry. Money is not really a priority for us here. I was like, okay, this and that. She wants to go back. How do you go about it? They're fine. So what do you want to do? She said, I said, okay, so we're talking about this thing. Let's see the evidence you have against this man. Show proof that you guys really spoke, and then this man gave you a contract and you guys had the deal that you supply him, he was going to pay you. There was nothing. In all sincerity, bro, there was nothing. And I said, one of case I will have be fighting like this now. But already Senator Richard promised to interface. Senator Natasha too, who was also very cool with, also promised to intervene. And then the next day I called Senator Richard and said, Mama, now, any luck on your side? Because I already knew that if she continues this way, if you like, for instance, now you accuse me of doing something, I cannot show proof that I did that thing. It's both a civil, but we're at the forefront and the vanguard of ensuring that free speech is not criminalized in Nigeria. But now it's still the law. So defamation is both civil and criminal. That is the law as it is today, despite our objections and our activism against it. So Senator Rating, I said, yeah, Marshal, I was also about calling you. I've spoken to Senator Umahi. Umahi said he's not owing her, that she must show proof that they were talking prior to 2023, and that he's not owing her, he's not going to pay her any kobo. You can confirm all of these things I'm telling you from Senator Rating. She's still alive. You're going to pay her a kobo. And I said, that's not a good one. So I said, yes, but the minister still wants to talk to you. So when you're available, just come around, let's do the talk. So I went to her and then I spoke to she called, put it on speaker. Senator Rating said, the minister, and I said, Minister, please, this thing is not really worth it. The woman, just consider and let's just resolve this amicably. I said, no, but that she must show proof that he's going to offer any money, he's going to do anything, ensure that he offers to pay her, to even pay MTN, let her go and get a call log and show that they've been talking prior to 2023. And the first time we ever spoke to the woman was when she sent a message, hello, in 2023. That's why could she have given her a contract as far back as 12 years ago when the first time they spoke was just barely 4 years ago. That's why he wasn't going to have any of that. And I told her that, okay, this was what she said. I said, okay, so do you have any proof that your minister ever spoke? She said, it's a long time, it's my phone must. I said, even if it's 20 years ago, call log. Once you are sure that you have it, I mean, we can always get this thing back. All of that. She said, it's a long time, she does not have it. And I said, okay. So we will get another meeting between the minister's lawyer, Barrister Abdul, SAN, the minister's friend, Mr. Joseph, who was also a former minister. And then so we met. But when we met in the Secretariat's house with Tracy, her husband, the ministers, the former minister, who is the current minister's friend, Abdul SAN, and the Secretariat. While we're there talking, she was just, she throws tantrums. She's very cantankerous. She was fighting, arguing, insulting everybody. So the meeting ended on a very sore note, And I told her that, well, they gave her condition that, okay, she must retract unless she has evidence. They said if she has evidence, she can proceed and insist. But if she doesn't have any evidence, she must retract the allegations of the mainland engineers, and she must also retract that Umahi said she had never been to his house. And that if she has proof that she never been to his house, let her insist on it. But otherwise, if she must recant those allegations against him, otherwise, he's going to ensure that she have a day in court. And then so those conditions were shown to me, and then the next thing she shared it to Baba Show, shared it to people. And I was like, come, even myself, this thing said they sent to me, I've not even spoken to it about. I told Mr. Sherry that I was going to meet her at Senator Rating's house. I gave him heads on ahead. But I said, I've not even discussed with Baba Show, discussed with anybody, already sharing this thing, already going. If things are you want to go about it, there's no problem. If you want to fight, let's fight, but please bring evidence. Otherwise, don't involve me in a matter where you do not have an evidence. And I am a lawyer. I cannot rubbish myself over a matter where you just slander people without, or blackmail them to collect money from them without any evidence. You said you did a contract of 25 million naira 12 years ago. Show something. Show conversation between you and him. Show delivery. I delivered this thing to him and they received it. Show anything. There was nothing. And I said, oh, so if you want to go, she now said, okay. So I think after she sent that out, they also sent her lawsuits in the Ebonyi state where they said they were going to drag her for her to face both civil and criminal aspect of the offenses. I think she became very jittery. She became very scared. I said, Barrister Marshal, I'm sorry. Please don't leave me like this. Let's settle. I said, no, if you already choose the war, because immediately as she does that, the lawyers started sending me the lawsuits too. I said, Marshal, you guys should meet us. We're going to sue you.